Welcome. Welcome to Community of Christ with the Shenandoah Congregation in San Antonio, Texas. Community of Christ is a welcoming and loving faith community. We proclaim Jesus Christ and promote communities of joy, hope, love, and peace. Please take a moment and like our video, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything, and comment to tell us where you are joining us from. Keep our contact details and share with us how we can minister to your needs. Find more information at www.seaofchristsa.org. If you would like to view past services, follow this link on our website. We welcome you, we acknowledge you, and we love you. Shalom.
And now Wayne Talcott will bring our message this morning.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be with you. I have to tell you, I'm noticing it's kind of weird. Here I am in Florida, but the southern accents of your voices, I'm noticing more than I ever have. I don't know whether something's happening to me or San Antonio is becoming more southern, but I kind of like it. It's refreshing to hear you, and it's always nice to see you all and to be with you. The topic today, show hospitality to strangers, is one of the things that is the biggest concern to me today in our world ridden with tribes and the good people and then the bad people. So you're going to hear a similar story to Carol's because I think it's critical to talk about, and hopefully you'll find my message useful. I recognize that you all have your own ideas about your relationship with the Creator. And I hope you find these ideas that I'm going to talk about and those I cite as useful. And I hope that my thoughts allow you to reflect on your own beliefs and how they play in your role in this life as a Christian. So the story of Abraham leads us to that marvelous question asked by contemporary poet Mary Oliver. And the question is, when you think about the life of Abraham, what are you going to do with your one wild, precious life? We only get one. I know most of us don't think we're going to die. We all are. None of us get out of this world alive. So what are you going to do with it? And it doesn't matter how old you are. It matters, have you been reflective? Do you feel good about where you are? Are we going to remain in the world of the dull, the repetitive, the same old, or are we like Abraham, going to respond to that voice that invites us to leave our habitual way of being and enter a life beyond convention and our own categorizations of reality? In Mark 1:11, we hear the transfiguration story in which Jesus and the inner core of his disciples ascend to a high mountain. This time, it is the disciples who hear the voice of God. And the voice of God says, "This is my Son, the beloved. Listen to him." The disciples, in a way, represent us in that passage. Listen to him. Listen to Jesus. The divine voice actually has a name in the Jewish tradition. The Hebrew phrase for that name, this divine voice, is bat kol. The Hebrew for the voice literally translate into English as a sound of the thinnest silence. The sound of the thinnest silence, or a still small voice. These are all different ways of attempting to express what lies beyond our boundaries of speech. And in that story, the voice of God, the bat kol, speaks to the disciples, to us, and it says, listen to him. That is, listen to Jesus. After the transfiguration story in Mark's gospel, but also in Matthew and Luke, immediately after that voice has said, listen to him, we get the story of Jesus's final journey from Galilee to Jerusalem. The journey image suggests that Christian life is more like following a path than it is about believing things with our minds. The journey image suggests to us that Christian life involves leaving an old way of being. And for us Christians, that journey has a direction. And essential biblical stories like the ones we talk about today and themes of Scripture powerfully suggest what that direction should be. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, which you've already heard once, and luckily you get to hear it again, Luke 10:29-37 is one such story. And I'm going to spend a little more time on it today. As you know, the story begins with an expert in the law who wanted to catch Jesus. And he asked Jesus this, "Who is my neighbor?" Now, it's important to remember in the Jewish tradition that certain peoples were considered unclean, and you really shouldn't touch them or do things for them. And so the question really is kind of a trick. In reply to the question, Jesus told a story. He said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, where he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side," which is consistent with Jewish tradition of the time. This is because the priests probably wanted to remain pure, and their purity laws called for them not to touch unclean people. And helping the man may have soiled him in some way. Much of like we think about some groups of people today. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, pass by on the other side. The Levite did the same. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandages his wounds. He poured oil on him and wine. And then he put the man on his donkey, and he brought him to the inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, "Hey, look after him. When I return, I'll reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have had." Which of these 3, Jesus said, do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the band of robbers? And the expert of the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." And then Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." Now, there's a great deal to discuss with this story. The Jews had a strong purity narrative, and in their beliefs, the priest was simply acting to maintain purity. God, like we at times separate ourselves from others who we judge to be not pure. And today there are all these tribal groups. It could be red or blue or colored skin or ethnicity or whatever. We tend to categorize people into these ridiculous categories and then judge them. Jesus was clearly less worried about purity or tribalism. All are neighbors. Self-righteousness is a sin. Who are we to treat others as less than us or berate them as unworthy? None of us is without sin, meaning none of us are perfect. We could all improve, and that's why we're called to repent, or another way to say that is to rethink how we are living our lives. And most of us are incapable of thinking about what terrible things we might be capable of, say for the sake of purity or popularity. And because of this, it's not our place to judge other people. Just get on social media and experience the hateful, vengeful comments, entries that drip with self-righteousness, elitism, and much more. We may not like what a person does. In fact, we may be strongly against the way a person behaves or thinks. And that's perfectly fine. But it's foolish to think you are so self-righteous as to be able to judge other people. Being unwilling to help someone or to condemn them because they think differently than you can be very destructive, mostly destructive to you. The point is that each of us is worthy of forgiveness and grace. Christ didn't say it's okay to be unwilling to help someone in need because they are unclean. He just simply lays out our choices with his parable. He calls us to mercy, not judgment. This passionate, charismatic first century rabbi interpreted the Genesis creation story that God created humankind in his image to mean that every member of the human race has sacred value. Other moral teachers, like Plato, had recommended helping people in need, but he referred only to people of one's own status, certainly not indigents, not the poor, or people enslaved, or those who think differently than you. Other rabbis of Jesus' time preached as he did the scriptural injunction to love your neighbor as yourself. But instead of focusing such charity primarily on other Jews in his community, Jesus shocked his listeners by urging them to lend compassion and practical help to anyone who is sick, in prison, or hungry, to a disgraced and ungrateful son, or even to an enemy. Is this what extended his reach so far beyond his own community and even to ours today? Well, I certainly think it has a lot to do with it. Jesus' radical, unprecedented reading of Genesis still resonates through our social and political life as both indictment and inspiration. And that is, we are all still created in God's image, which means everyone, not just Jews, not just people in blue or red, not just people in big cities or in small country towns. We're all loved equally by God. Marcus Borg points out that if we take the Jewish experience of exile in Babylon as a way of thinking about our journey with the Creator, it's a journey that leads from exile and alienation to return and homecoming, from seeing ourselves as being of little or no account to seeing ourselves as the beloved of God. Or to use the sight and light metaphors throughout the Bible, a journey that leads from blindness to sight, from being in the dark to being in the light. Or it is a journey that leads from convention to compassion, from living our lives in accord with conventional values, making sure you belong to the right tribe, to living our lives in accord with the central biblical values of compassion and justice for all, even those we violently disagree with. Living the way, as described by Jesus, can bring us into the presence of the Creator with an opportunity to experience the awe that is the awareness of God. And awe, well, awe is the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. The recognition of vastness can be challenging, unsettling, and destabilizing for many of us. In evoking awe, it reveals that our current knowledge is not up to the task of making sense of what we have encountered. We know so little about existence. And so in awe, we go in search of new forms of understanding. Awe is about our relation to the vast mysteries of life. There's more going on here than meets the eye. According to Pagels in her book, Miracles and Wonder, the Gospels follow an intriguing pattern, starting in a world filled with challenge, oppression, and suffering. But then their stories shift, often suddenly, into hope. Every one of the Gospels, not only those in the New Testament, but also the secret Gospels, the agnostic Gospels, end in the most astonishing reversal of all. After Jesus suffers the worst imaginable fate, betrayed by a trusted friend, abandoned by everyone, falsely accused, tortured, and cruelly executed in public, he is raised to glorious new life, reunited with those who love him, and elevated to receive the highest praise in heaven, to reign over a world renewed in justice and peace. The point is as clear as a lightning flash, Pagel said. God can make a way out of no way, transforming what we suffer into joy and hope. As I see it, she says, the Gospels give us what we often need most, an outburst of hope. This brings me to the question for you. What are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? Listen to that still small voice that offers a promise to us. I will show you a better way, a better country. Thank you.